Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Mythlok with your host Nitin Nair. We have been exploring mythologies from around the world, and one of the ones that has received a lot of positive reactions are the ones from Asia. Now this is mainly because the Asian cultures tend to have a lot in common in terms of their history, the culture, the traditions that are followed, and also have a strong influence of Buddhism, Hinduism, and other indigenous religions from around the region. Now, the animals that are quite popular in these mythologies have also made that transition into modern times. Now, whether that is through art, through worship, through culture, through traditional methods of depiction, tattoos, anime, video games, characters in cartoons or comics, they have managed to keep their place intact in modern times. One of these characters that really caught my eye, mainly because it is a common reference in not only Chinese mythology, but also in Japanese, Korean, and we can also see similar characters in Norse, European, and a few other smaller mythologies from around the world. Now this is the character of the three-legged crow in Chinese mythology, also known as Sanzuwu. It is mentioned in various myths that the Sanzuwu is represented by the Sanzuwu disc. Sanzuwu is a three-legged crow with a distinct third limb that has always been a cause of contention as to what the whole purpose of having three limbs for a bird was. Sanzuwu is not the only bird depicted in Chinese or in Southeast Asian mythology with an additional limb. And three-legged birds are in fact quite common in terms of their folklore and tales from the times that we are discussing. Although we would not dwell deeply into all the other birds, some of them definitely require a description, a podcast, and an article written about them. But like I said, we wouldn't be focusing on every single three-legged bird that is present in the mythology. The Sanzuwu disc, which I mentioned, is a representation of the sun and is often used in ancient China to make formal imperial garments. So you will not only see the representation of the Sanzuwu disc on clothes, but also in the form of ornaments or jewelry that was commonly used by royalty. The most popular depiction of a Sanzuwu is a sunbird called the Yangwu or the Jinwu. Although it's referred to as a raven or a crow, it is usually colored red instead of black. In some depictions, it is also depicted as a black bird within a red disc. So the depictions may vary, but the concept of the three-legged crow quite remains the same. In some excavations, it was also found to have references or depicted in ornaments or sculptures as a golden crow. The Queen Mother of the West is supposedly surrounded by a tree of dragons, a fox, and a male attendant. She is also surrounded by a leaping frog and a three-legged crow, which is where the importance of the Sanzuwu really stands out. If you look at the history or the origin story, or basically the family ties of a Sanzuwu, it is said that the mother of the 10 crows, she did not like how they kept distorting the path of the sun. So what used to happen is the three-legged crow used to direct the sun's direction from east to west, depicting sunrise to sunset. But occasionally the crows would keep distorting the path of the sun because they kept getting distracted. She went ahead and blinded them so they could not fly down and eat the grass that they loved. One day all of them decided to fly out and cause the world to burn. Another god named Hui, a celestial archer, shot down all but one of the crows, and thus the world was left with one three-legged crow. The Sanzuwu is also known as Yatagarasu in Japanese mythology and Samjok-o in Korean mythology. What is the actual role of the Sanzuwu? It was believed to be the one who draws the sun from the clouds. It was said that the sun would be drawn out by 10 sun crows who would each carry a responsibility to fly out and create a path for the other. The crow's favorite food consisted of 2 types of grass only found on earth, and thus some of the crows would fly down and eat them, distorting the pattern of the sun, resulting in huge losses, especially in the field of agriculture, because of the heat of the sun destroying crops, etc. In modern day times, the Sanzuwu is quite popular in symbolism, with artists, brands, and even some football clubs adopting the insignia. As you can see, many cultures have used animals and their special abilities to explain different natural phenomena. In this case, the rising of the sun and setting of the sun. Almost every single culture has their mythology explaining why and how the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Although today we know that this is not due to any other force apart from the rotation of the earth on its own axis, but at that point of time, to have a logical explanation to these natural phenomena was required, and that's how they went about explaining stuff to children, to people on their community, and basically the future generations. There is nothing wrong in actually believing something, because I always make this point. At one point of time, the most brilliant minds on the planet believed that the earth revolved around the sun. So knowledge is something that is constantly evolving, and we just need to accept it as and when there is new proof. Thank you very much for tuning in to Mythlok. This is your host, Nitin Nair, signing off and reminding you once again that Mythlok is the home of mythology.